They say power can buy anything, but what happens when even a prince can't win back the woman he loves? Behind the golden gates of Dubai, a royal love story was quietly falling apart. Whispers turned into silence, silence turned into heartbreak, and eventually that heartbreak spilled into the public, one cryptic poem at a time. This wasn't just any breakup, it was the unraveling of one of the most private, yet emotionally charged relationships in the royal world. Sheikh Hamdan, crowned prince, poet, and admired by millions, found himself facing something he couldn't control. His second wife, once the quiet strength behind him, had made a decision that even his status couldn't change. And when she walked away, she didn't look back. So what really happened behind those palace walls? Why did she leave? And why did none of his desperate attempts to bring her back work? This is the untold story of how Dubai's crown prince lost not just a partner, but a piece of his soul. It started with a few quiet lines, delicate, poetic, almost cryptic. But for those who knew Sheikh Hamdan, the message was painfully clear. In his final attempt to reach the woman who once held his heart, he turned to the one thing that had always helped him express what words couldn't: poetry. The last verse of that poem hit like a thunderclap. His kingdom severs in front of you. It wasn't just metaphor, it was heartbreak carved into words. To understand that line is to understand everything. His kingdom didn't refer to some far-off symbolic empire. It meant his father, Sheikh Mohammed, and everything that royal bloodline stood for. And you, that was her, the woman who had walked away, not just from a marriage, but from the royal world itself. That single sentence captured what he couldn't say out loud, that her departure wasn't just a personal betrayal, it was a rejection of everything tied to him, his name, his lineage, his legacy. And it wasn't the first poem. She had already said no to his initial plea. That poem too was filled with emotion, layered with regret. But when it didn't work, he tried again. Desperation doesn't always look like shouting or breaking down. Sometimes it looks like carefully chosen words written late at night. Even his own sister, Sheikha bint Mohammed, tried to step in, hoping that the bond of family could bring her back to Dubai. But every request, every emotional reach was turned away. This second poem wasn't a plea anymore. It was surrender, a quiet, final acceptance that the love he was holding on to was gone. What the world saw was a broken poem, but what they didn't see was the quiet war happening behind closed doors. After the first rejection, Sheikh Hamdan didn't give up, not right away. He reached out again, not through commands or authority, but with vulnerability. For someone born into royalty, admitting pain is rare, but that's exactly what he did. He wrote, he waited, he hoped, and when his own words weren't enough, his family stepped in. Sheikha bint Mohammed, his sister, known for her deep loyalty to both family and tradition, reached out directly to the woman who once stood beside her brother. Her message was clear: come back. The family still welcomed her. The doors were open, but nothing changed. No explanation, no compromise, just a quiet refusal that sent shockwaves through the family. To reject a prince is one thing. To ignore the pleas of a royal bloodline, that's another. Still, Hamdan held on, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. For all his titles, all his influence, there was something deeply human about his struggle. He didn't want a queen for the throne. He wanted the woman who made him feel human, not royal. But love, no matter how pure, doesn't survive on poetry and hope alone. And while the world continued to adore the prince from afar, they had no idea that behind that calm, composed image, his world was slowly falling apart. Some dates are remembered not for what they gave, but for what they took away. October 15th, 2022 started like any other day inside the royal circle, but by nightfall everything had shifted. Behind the walls of the palace, away from the photographers, the public events, and the polished appearances, Sheikh Hamdan received the one message he feared most. His second wife didn't just decline reconciliation, she asked for divorce. Not a pause, not space, a final, direct break. The decision wasn't a negotiation, it was a line drawn in the sand. And from what sources close to the family claim, it blindsided everyone. Even those who believed the relationship was strained didn't expect it to collapse that quickly. It's been said that Sheikh Hamdan didn't respond right away. He sat with it, let the weight of those words settle in. The woman he wrote for, waited for, and quietly fought for had made her final choice. And just one day later, on October 16th, it was done. The separation was official, quietly documented, quickly sealed. No headlines, no public spectacle, just the end of a royal chapter no one thought would close so suddenly. People often imagine royalty to be dramatic, but sometimes it's the silence that hurts more than the noise. Heartbreak doesn't always speak in plain words. For Sheikh Hamdan, it spoke in metaphors, in verses wrapped in silence. On October 17th, just a day after the official separation, he released another poem. At first glance, it seemed poetic, almost vague, but for those who read between the lines, it was a raw confession. The opening line hit quietly but firmly. Today your right is over the falcon and her net. In royal poetry, the falcon isn't just a bird. It's a symbol of nobility, freedom, and in this case, love. The net was their bond, and now that bond had snapped. Her right over that love, over that freedom they once shared, was gone. Then came a line even more personal. Oh bird, I fell in you. Simple, vulnerable. That wasn't a prince talking, that was a man confessing, openly admitting that he had fallen, not just in love, but completely under her spell. The falcon wasn't just a metaphor, it was her. But the poem didn't stop there. My strength, the Sultan of my heart, most didn't catch the meaning here. The Sultan wasn't just a romantic title, it was his father, Sheikh Mohammed. The line hinted at the emotional storm inside him, torn between the strength of his upbringing and the heartbreak of personal loss. And finally, the verse that still echoes, his kingdom severs in front of you, a final cut, a final message. Her departure wasn't just about walking away from a man, it was walking away from everything he stood for, his family, his legacy, his world. This wasn't poetry for an audience. It was a eulogy for a love that never got to grow old. Love may be emotional, but divorce is often strategic. And in the case of Sheikh Hamdan and his second wife, the final separation didn't happen overnight. It was the result of failed negotiations on both sides. Behind the poetry and heartbreak were quiet conversations few ever heard about. Sources close to the royal family say she didn't walk away without trying. She made requests, private, non-negotiable, and deeply personal. She wanted freedom. She wanted clarity about her role in the palace. And most importantly, she wanted certain boundaries respected if she were to return to Dubai. But here's where it became complicated. Hamdan, though still in love, had his own conditions. He was a crown prince, not just a husband. His life wasn't just his own, it belonged to an entire nation. What he could offer emotionally, he couldn't always offer in practice. And in a world as structured and traditional as the Emirati royal court, compromise isn't always possible. They weren't fighting, they weren't blaming, they simply couldn't meet in the middle. It wasn't about disrespect, it was about realities that didn't align. The love was still there, but the terms of that love had changed. And when no agreement could be reached, the silence grew louder than any argument ever could. Divorce is never just between two people, especially when children are involved. The question on everyone's mind, what happens to Sheikh Hamdan's kids? According to trusted sources, the care of the children has now shifted to a familiar and trusted figure, Sheikha bint Mohammed, Sheikh Hamdan's sister. In the traditions of the Islamic royal family, custody often follows specific protocols. While Sheikh Hamdan remains their father and protector, the responsibility of day-to-day care falls to Sheikha, This arrangement might sound unusual to some. It might even feel unfair at a glance. But within the royal circle, it's a measure to protect the children's stability amidst the turbulence. And it's important to remember something crucial. Sheikh Hamdan is known for his kindness and fairness. Even with the separation, he is expected to allow his ex-wife to visit and spend time with their children. Family bonds, no matter how strained, still hold weight in this story. The children caught between two worlds aren't forgotten. They remain at the heart of decisions, kept safe by those who love them most. Every royal story has its secrets, whispers that never make the headlines but shape the narrative behind the scenes. Since the separation, rumors have swirled about what really tore Sheikh Hamdan and his second wife apart. People close to the family say it wasn't just one thing, it was a combination of factors. Some reports suggest she had made certain demands to keep their relationship alive, requests that Sheikh Hamdan simply couldn't meet, caught between personal feelings and royal duties. Others claim there were differences over privacy and independence, with tensions rising over what could be shared publicly and what had to stay hidden. It's been said that cultural expectations and family pressures also played a role. The royal family is known for its traditions and protocols, which sometimes clash with personal desires. But here's the key. None of these rumors are confirmed. They're pieces of a puzzle that only those inside the palace truly understand. What we do know is this: the split was painful, complicated, and far from simple. It's a reminder that even those who seem to have everything can face struggles that remain invisible to the outside world. Sheikh Hamdan's heartbreak isn't just a royal scandal or tabloid gossip. It's a deeply human story about love, loss, and the challenges that come with living a life in the spotlight. Behind the poems, the silence, and the official announcements, there's a man grappling with what many of us know all too well. When love changes, everything else changes too. This separation shows us that even in a world of privilege and power, relationships can break down, hopes can be dashed, and healing takes time. But it also reminds us of resilience, how Sheikh Hamdan continues forward, carrying the weight of family, duty, and personal heartbreak all at once. As new details emerge, and as this story unfolds day by day, we'll be here, bringing you the latest insights, the untold truths, and the real emotions behind the headlines. So, if you want to understand what really happens when a royal marriage ends, and why it matters far beyond the palace walls, make sure to subscribe and stay connected. Because this isn't just about Sheikh Hamdan's love life, it's about the human heart, no matter who wears the crown. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.